Today is October 15th. We are on with Ariel Epstein. This is Pikkit Playbook presented by Pikkit Sports. And the reason we have Ariel on today is because she is a host of the MLB Network. I do not know a sharper person when it comes to baseball picks, and we need them bad because we are in the middle of postseason. We have the Guardians, Yankees, and we have the Dodgers versus... brain for a second. We have the Dodgers versus the Mets. Okay, sorry, there's so much sports going on right now. I love it. But we have the AL and the NL games going on. Ariel, thank you for coming on today. We really appreciate it, and we really, really need winners. I know you went to Billy's last night. I know you're slammed right now, but thank you for coming on. If you're not following her, it's Ariel Epstein on Twitter. If you're not following her, you're missing out. Her plays are sharp. Ariel, how are you today?
I've been better, Preston. Last night was a late night at Yankee Stadium. Game 1, Yankees come away with the 5-2 win over the Guardians. Big day for New York. The Mets also got the win, beating the Dodgers yesterday. It was really fun because even though everyone was mad that baseball had a 4 o'clock game for Game 2 of the NLCS, a lot of people were off. It was Columbus Day. I was at Billy's at 4 o'clock for first pitch of Game 2 of the NLCS. It was so much fun to be able to watch baseball starting at 4 and then go to the Yankees game right after the Mets dominated the Dodgers. It was a fun day.
That sounds like the best Monday somebody can have on October 14th.
No Monday scaries.
And that's your job, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. My job is to essentially watch sports, and I go to baseball games, and I'm going to go again to Game 2 tonight. It's fun because I can say it's work, which it kind of is, and I go there, I create content. It doesn't just end with the best bets each day. I go and promote like the bar like Billy's, which I found out for the first time yesterday. I don't know why it took me so long. So the bar Billy's, which you were at with me, Preston. So if anyone doesn't know, it's on River Avenue, right across the street from Yankee Stadium. But I found out who Billy was. I kept asking the owners because it's run by a family, a Greek family. I said, who's Billy? Like, none of you guys are Billy. There's Steve, there's George, there's Joey. It's named after Billy Martin. What? That makes so much sense. Named after Billy Martin. Oh, okay. Now I know who Billy's is named after.
So how many drinks deep were you when you started walking around asking where Billy's at? At Billy's.
At that point, I think I was 3 surf sides and 2 shots in.
Sounds about right. That sounds exactly. Yeah.
That was before the game.
Speaking of the best job, it sounds like that anybody can ever have. How did you get there? I know this industry has really opened up in the past few years with TikTok, YouTube growing, and a lot of content creators, and that's how most of these companies are hiring nowadays. It's from you growing your own following, proving you can do it, and then, of course, you could probably do it on the MLB Network. And how did you get there? You're after college. You don't really know where you're going to go. You know you want to do something in sports, and now you're on the MLB Network. How does that happen?
Oh my gosh, I will try to make a very long story short because so many pieces and people were the reason I got there. So after I graduated college, I went to local news and became a sports anchor in New Bern, North Carolina, which is very close to East Carolina University. I covered their sports all the time. I was there for 3 years, moved back home in 2019. I was unemployed. I had no idea what I was going to do. Sports betting just got legalized in 2017 when PASPA got repealed. So I was a huge fantasy sports fan. Since 6th grade, I was playing fantasy sports. I was even in random ESPN leagues because the boys kicked me out of their league by 7th, 8th grade because I kept winning baseball and football fantasy. When PASPA got repealed and everyone was already in the fantasy world, I knew sports betting was going to blow up at some point. I just didn't know when. So I started doing sports betting, and I joined a company called SportsGrid, which was a sports betting network that was only on YouTube at the time. In COVID, no one was creating content, but SportsGrid, I give them so much credit. They were the only ones that didn't lay off a single person in COVID. The week COVID started, we already had everything off Amazon to build a home studio, green screen, lights, etc. Thank goodness we did that because everyone in about 2 months after, everything was out of stock. So we were the first ones to really just buy. So in I would say May, June of 2020, everything started to really take off because we were the only ones that were creating content. So FanDuel sponsored our show. We were the first FanDuel sponsored show out there the morning after on SportsGrid. SiriusXM ended up picking up our show. So much happened in 2020 because we were the only ones creating content when nobody else was working. So that was kind of where things took off. And then SiriusXM, since they were running my show, someone from MLB Network by the name of Matt Vasgersian, who's one of the biggest sportscasters in like baseball, he was listening to the show and said to MLB Network, "Oh my gosh, we should hire this girl. She really seems to know her stuff." MLB Network execs that he said that to, I met when I was at Syracuse in college. So I kept in touch with those executives for years, just like telling them like, "Hey, here's my updated demo reel. Let me know what I should fix." I never asked for a job. That's not the way to do things. You just keep in touch with people and you tell them, "Oh, I'm in North Carolina. Oh, I'm at Sports Grid. Oh, I started a new show." This kind of stuff, sending them an updated demo reel. So when Maddie V went to the executives, they were like, "Oh, yeah, we've known Ariel for years. Okay, if you like her, sign her up." So I ended up getting the job. No audition, no nothing. Just shook some hands. Went to lunch with Matt Vasgersian to make sure I was a normal person. And that's how I got on MLB Network.
Was that lunch at Chili's because Chili's is where you close deals?
No. Because I don't know if there is a Chili's in, like, Secaucus. There's one Italian restaurant in Secaucus, which is where MLB Network is. And it's pretty good, but it's, like, the only restaurant in Secaucus that's not like I don't know. I don't really know what else is in Secaucus aside for like the Meadowlands. So we went to like this one Italian restaurant with me, two executives, and Maddie V.
Let me back you up real quick. You said right when COVID broke, you guys were like, you know what, we're going all in. We're buying a home studio.
Yeah.
You made that sound so easy because if we take it back to 2020, it was going to be a 2-week thing. No worries at all. Sports are going to resume. Let's just make sure
COVID. That week, like the week of the shutdown, like when Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID and they shut down the NBA, I was at dinner that night getting COVID. Like I didn't realize until like 3-4 days later, I called in sick to work before we were not going to work. So I think I called in sick to work Monday and I worked Sunday. It was NFL Sunday. Or not, sorry, it was March. It was the NBA playoffs. I worked Sunday, and then Monday, I called in sick. Tuesday, I was still sick, and Wednesday, they said don't come into work anymore. Everyone's remote.
And you just went all in because that's a gamble in itself. You guys were like, no, this thing's going to extend. We saw Rudy Gobert just lick the mics. They're taking it as a joke. It's going to ruin our whole March Madness. I remember that, but you were on top of it. But so what sports did you cover?
And I said it was the NBA playoffs. I'm getting my timelines all mixed up. It was March Madness. NBA was still on. That's what I was saying. So when we went all in, there was obviously nothing really until golf and UFC, and NASCAR. So I was doing a lot of NASCAR in COVID because everyone was going in on UFC and I needed something different. This was even before Prop Queen was a thing. I wasn't really doing props yet. The props started that baseball season with strikeout props. And I kind of knew when I had sharps in Vegas reaching out to me saying, "Wow, your strikeout props are really good." We there was like 2 or 3 sharps that started DMing me. Dave Koken being one of them, who just passed away, but he was such a great mentor to me. And he reached out because he loved baseball. He goes, "Wow, you're like, that's what really helped me stand out. That's what Maddie V saw in me. The strikeout props were just hitting at a crazy rate. And the info and everything." So I kind of just built off that and started doing the props market. But I really started in COVID with NASCAR because everyone was doing UFC and golf. No one was doing NASCAR. And I was trying to figure out how to stand out in a world that already had so many people that were doing this so much longer than me. And it started with like NASCAR props.
See, I think you're right, though, what you just said about how gambling really in 2017 started getting legalized. But I would say the cliche of gambling, you know, when you brought it up, or even in sports, like you turn on the Red Zone is sponsored by DraftKings now. It's really starting to get pulled back a lot. And NIL deals with college students. So like betting on college kids, not crazy anymore. I think this industry has plenty to grow still. I think it's just getting started with how much people are getting into sports betting. So for you to get in 2017, I've told this to Kelly. I think you two are genuinely pioneers in the content creating game, getting mixed with the actual big networks like MLB, stuff like that. So thank you for telling us your story because that is insane. I have to ask, though, that feeling, though, when you don't have a job, you have nowhere to go, you feel like you're completely lost. So I was like, let's just set up a home studio and get you talking about what you love, because people always ask for advice and they're like, how do I find what I love? Like how do I go for it? How do I get into that industry? You kind of just have to like literally pick up a camera, put yourself on it and just start talking. And it's going to be weird at
You have
first.
to
Like,
genuinely be yourself too, because
Mhm.
it sounds cliche, but I had so many people tell me that when I was in local news and when I was unsure of where my path was, because I always knew being on air for sports, like a sports broadcaster, that was my dream my whole life since I was 9 years old. You can read my fifth grade yearbook. My fifth grade yearbook says, "What am I going to be doing in 20 years?" I said, "I'm going to be the Yankees reporter." And I ended up getting more than I asked for because I got to be like on MLB Network and not just the Yankees. But yeah, my dream job was to be like Susan Waldman, the Yankees play by play on radio. Like that was my dream to do like reporting for them. And then you kind of realize too throughout the journey. So after local news, which I did like the hosting stuff, like I liked being an anchor and hosting. But when I was unemployed, I actually did sideline reporting for Stony Brook football and basketball. I hated sideline reporting. I never actually wanted to do it again. I didn't want to be the Yankees reporter anymore. I was like, I don't want to do this job. I want to figure out what I want though. And what I loved about the sports betting world was it gave me a window where like I could be a better and the athletes could be athletes. It's very hard to be a female analyst, right? Because you didn't play. You didn't play football, you didn't play professional baseball. You might have played basketball. That's probably one of the few sports that you could say. But for the most part, men don't really like female analysts. And I don't mean that to be mean, but I'm just saying it's very hard to be a respected female analyst the way like someone Mina Kimes is. But for sports betting purposes, I always say to the athletes at MLB Network, you play your game and I'm going to play mine. I would go toe to toe with any of those former baseball players talking about like baseball from an analyst perspective, except I do it from a sports betting analyst perspective. I went toe to toe with former Cy Young and World Series winner Jake Peavy last year. I'll never forget. It was when Zach Gallen was like Cy Young contender. And the line was like, I call it a fishy line. So we saw reverse line movement where the line moved like 20 cents overnight against Zach Gallen. But Jake Peavy was like, you're crazy for betting against Zach Gallen. He's about to win the Cy Young. He's so good. I'm like, but he's on the road. And if you look at his splits, they're terrible on the road. Peavy's like, if you win this bet, and they were playing a bad team, like someone like, I don't know, I'm trying to think who probably, like it could have even been, I don't know, some last place team of last year, I forget, but it was a really bad team. And he was like, there is no way. Diamondbacks got murdered that night. It's so fun because whether or not it's not about breaking down the sport the way a player does. It's about breaking down the sport the way a sports bettor does. It's very different.
Ariel, I was at Billy's with you, and Book It with Trent is sitting right next to me saying how the Yankees are going to smoke the Colorado or the Rockies. The Yankees are going to smoke the Rockies.
Yeah.
And I'm there like, yeah, they are. I think they're minus 340. Let's take them extended run line, minus 2.5. And you looked at me and you're like, dude, first of all, you're tailing Trent. Second of all, it's not going to happen. No one knows who's on the bump for the Yankees. It's not going to happen. And I ended up losing. I think the Rockies won.
I took the
6
plus
runs.
1.5 and Kel bet the money line for the Rockies.
And I should have told you I chose Trent, a mistake, and I wish I would have just listened. But at the end of the day, I know one thing about men. They love money, right? So if you can just keep pitching some winners, I promise you. Look, you're at the MLB Network right now. That's what happens right there. But no, that's an amazing story. Like I've always wondered. I love talking to people about how they got there because going through this new route of going to be a content creator and then getting signed with a bigger company, it's kind of like the starting. It's like getting picked up like from a college team. That's really how it is. But to get there, people always ask, they're like, I don't know how to start. And I'm like, well, I can't really explain it. You just got to do it. You got to care enough. You got to like, that's what you love to do.
So
and you just
today.
hop on.
I shouldn't say it's so easy. It's much easier today than it even was 10 years ago when I jumped in. When I jumped in, you still really needed a demo reel. You needed to be like, you had to have a resume. You had to like kind of start from the ground up. Didn't mean you had to start local news, but you did have to start somewhere small. Now you could just blow up from posting to TikTok. It's crazy. Like there are so many people now that could just go viral on TikTok and they get hired by any of these sports books or any of these companies. So it's very easy for anyone to just start and do it. Like I say to people all the time, just be yourself, be ambitious, make connections, network as best as you can, and make good content. And that's people will latch on. I mean, I wish I knew the TikTok algorithm better. I'm terrible at TikTok. It doesn't work for
No
me.
one knows it. It's so hard. Yeah, we're focused on the YouTube game and TikTok. It's
Yeah,
brutal.
YouTube's
So is
good,
it's
Twitter's
all.
good, or X and Instagram I like, but yeah, I'm not really a good Gen. I'm not a Gen Zer. I'm still a millennial.
No, you're crushing it. You're
I think
crushing it.
TikTok
But
hates millennials. They love Gen Zers.
you never know with TikTok. It's just about I don't even know. There's so many different phases that app goes through, so it'll wrap around again. But as long as you're giving out winners, I promise you, people are gonna follow. That's one or losers. Look at Trent. But so look, we fast forward or taking you back one more time because you were talking about COVID. And you said that's really when you started your home studio. That's when you started making great content. That's when the people reached out to you. I messed up, and I think the whole world did, because we did not take advantage of how easy betting on sports was. I think in 2021, when there was like a printout of your face if you paid for it. Do you remember that? And the stands were completely empty.
Oh,
And it
yeah,
was
yeah,
almost
of
like
course.
anything that was supposed to happen happened.
Yeah.
Like if there was supposed to be 7 strikeouts, it's dead silent in the stadium. It's just a chill game. It's like a backyard baseball game. They usually had 8. And it was
Yeah.
like, man, this is all the lines are sharp. Like it was almost like the casino was telling you what to bet. And everyone was still like, I don't know. Like no one was really into betting. And I'm like, man, we missed out such a big opportunity there. But is that when you were just giving out winners? And if so, I have to know in that time period or any time period, what's been the worst beat of your life and the best win of your life?
Okay, so yes, that was around the time that I was giving out a lot of winners. The strikeout props were awesome, and it also was such an untapped market. There were so many prop markets that no one really knew about yet, so you got really good numbers. The strikeout prop market has definitely gotten tougher over the last couple of years. That year, it was like untouchable. No one was like, it was great. And rebounds plus assists market in the NBA was really good at that point too, which
was
is hilarious.
amazing. I
No one
remember
knew
that.
about the
Mm-hmm.
rebounds plus assists. There was also something called try bets on FanDuel where it was try bet 1, 2, and 3. And there was that year was when the Yankees and Blue Jays, just like every game was like landing 1 or 2. And I remember just betting. I think they had the most games decided by 2 runs or less. So you could have try bet 2 at like even money, and it was like the game just had to be decided by 2 runs or less. It didn't matter who it was, Yankees or Blue Jays, who won, as long as it was 2 runs or less. And I just kept hitting that on Yankees Blue Jays series, and that is gone. Like, you cannot try bet 2 anymore. They have try bet 1, but they do not have try bet 2 anymore. That thing is gone. But I would say the best win I had, I cannot remember who the golfer was, but I had a golf analyst come on my Sports Grid show who gave out a 50-1 first round winner, and I ended up making $5K from a first round winner in COVID. It was so much fun. Then my worst beat was definitely the Bucs Super Bowl with Tom Brady. I had Devin White 100-1 to win Super Bowl MVP. Devin White had at least 10 total tackles in every playoff game, and he had the game-sealing interception. The only reason he didn't win MVP was because Tom Brady was his quarterback. If it wasn't for Tom Brady, Devin White was winning MVP. He had an incredible postseason run that year. And he had like 12 total tackles in the Super Bowl. He had the game-selling interception, and that number also got cut in half from 100-1 to 50-1, like right before kickoff. And I was like, oh my God, I might actually win this. And Brady didn't have a good Super Bowl. Like, Brady did not have a good Super Bowl. He got like 2 interceptions turned over. Like, they called back 2 interceptions. So I really thought I had a chance.
Am I pulling out some emotion again? Are you starting to remember that night and you're like,
It
is
was
it
the
one of those
worst
beats?
beat. Like 100
Is it one of those beats your
1.
back hurts?
It
Where
was
you're
100
like, I'm
to
never
1. Like, are you kidding? I would have been. It would have been insane. But
Oh,
I would have
like,
won 10K.
it's the hope that kills you, because you were like, oh, you saw the line dropping, you saw the game, and you're like, okay, on the
I would
they're
have won
gonna have to announce
10K,
it.
and I was like, yeah. No, that was
I'm
definitely
so
my worst
sorry.
beat.
Yeah.
But in COVID, it was so fun hitting like a 50-1. Was it 50? I think it was 50-1. Maybe it was, yeah, probably 50-1. In COVID, just hitting a first round winner. And again, it was just the most fun because I never really was betting golf before COVID. And that's when I started getting into it. And a friend of mine came on the show and she gave us this winner. And I was like, oh my God, this was so much fun to watch a first round winner. Now I could get into golf every day.
Oh, it was. I'm telling you, once you have one good winner, I mean, it's true. You can't chase. I don't know. Like there, for example, the first week of college football. You met my girlfriend Paige at the Yankee game. She just grabbed my phone. I was like, you know what? Just place a moonshot. I don't care. Puts $100 in on an 8-legger. Hit for 16 grand. I wake up the next day. I'm like, why is my account have 16 grand in it? I was like, that is unbelievable. But then the losses hurt so bad. So I know that loss that you're talking about, your back hurts. You swear you're never going to bet again. And then the next day you find yourself at a Yankees game doing it all over again. And speaking of the Yankees, they play today. Are you going to the game?
I am going to the game. Game 2, Garrett Cole on the mound for the Yanks.
And please, please bless us with some player props right now.
I'll give you the over hits allowed by Tanner Bybee, the Guardians starter. I don't have anything else right now because it was a late night last night, and now we're doing this, and then I have to run to a meeting. But I will have winners out on my social pages today.
And you'll be posting them on Pikkit Sports?
Yes, always. Everything I do is on Pikkit.
There you go. Go
Always.
follow her on Pikkit. She's going to be posting them all throughout the whole series, so there will be winners on there, I promise.
I just had some relatives come up to me over the weekend, and they said, do you know about this app? It's really great. Like, you don't even have to do anything, and it'll track your bets. I'm like, remember that party that we threw at Billy's a few weeks ago? I'm like, yeah, that was for Pikkit.
Yeah, and what I love about Pikkit right now is their line shopping. I really do, because I bet better. I'll do prize picks. I do them all, and they all have, like, drastically different lines for some of the games. And I'm like, it is super nice that I get to get on there, and it just says, hey, there is a lower line right here if you would like it. I'm like, yes, please. So I head over to Prize Picks, place it there, better, whatever. But FanDuel, any bets you have, download Pikkit Pro, follow me and Ariel on it. We are posting our plays. I'm going to be copying Ariel, so I really got nothing for you in the MLB. I'm more of a moocher when it comes to plays. But I do put money on them, so go check it out there. And I will say, Ariel, you got to give us your predictions. There's a lot of weird things happening this postseason. I think the worst thing for me is the flukiness of this whole series. Like, for example, Mookie Betts is up to bat. Shohei steals, he gets out. Mookie loses his batting experience. He loses his plate appearance, and I don't get a chance for a hit. And I'd over 1.5 hits. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like when they pull a pitcher in the second.
I don't like offensive player props.
Okay, so you're sticking to defensive.
I only do, and in baseball, I only will bet pitchers. It's the only market, not so much in the postseason because they'll pull pitchers pretty quickly, but it's the only market where you pretty much have reliable stats. There are a lot of teams that strike out a lot, and there are teams that strike out very little. There are also pitchers that are strikeout pitchers and some that aren't. Some lefty-righty splits are very drastic, so you get good numbers. For example, the Dodgers strike out a lot less against lefties than righties. Those kinds of things are important. The Guardians, very low strikeout team, so strikeout rate team. So the Guardians are a team you do not bet overs against for strikeout props. I don't care if it's Garrett Cole on the mound today. I will not be betting over strikeout props against the Guardians ever. So you just kind of know these things when you are watching it all year. It's just pretty consistent. So if you stick with the consistency of a pitcher, then you'll know, as opposed to hitters where, like, I remember I stopped betting offensive player props because a few years ago in the ALCS in 2022, I had Jose Altuve game 1 at Yankee Stadium, or game 3, like the first game of that series at Yankee Stadium. I had Jose Altuve going over 1.5 total bases. He hits really well at Yankee Stadium and he crushes the Yankees. That game, he ends up going over 4, and the next day he ends up going 3 for 4. Like, he could still have great overall numbers at Yankee Stadium. Likely, he could have a bad day. Like, hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things to do in sports. I just don't like the inconsistencies. It is a sport of failure. You could go to the Hall of Fame if you're hitting above 300 in your career, which is, like, terrible in any other sport. So, it's...
Listen, I know it's the hardest thing to do, but when I have money on their over... and they're getting paid millions to do it, they better do it. That's the way I see it. I'm like, you better hit it. Okay, so but you have to give us your overall prediction on what happens. It's October 15th today. What happens the rest of this series? Both sides.
Goodness. My gut says Yankees-Mets World Series, but I would really like a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. And that's, again, it's not my New York biases. I hope for baseball it's Yankees-Dodgers because it's better for baseball to have two big cities as opposed to it just being one city like New York. It would be really fun in New York. I would love to see Yankees Dodgers also because of the history behind the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Yankees. There's so many Brooklyn Dodgers fans that would love to see Yankees Dodgers World Series again. And of course Ohtani Judge. So my gut says the Mets are a freight train and we can't stop it. The Yankees should be the Guardians, and but I am hoping for Yankees Dodgers.
Sounds like a cool World Series regardless, though, as long as the Yankees get in.
There's so many storylines regardless of what happens. There's just so many storylines for any of the matchups.
Well, there's also a lot of money on the board, and that's why we look to you. But Ariel, I have a game for us to play. It's presented by Pikkit Sports. It's called How Many Beers to Take This Bet. Are you ready?
Ready.
The White Sox to win the World Series within the next 20 years.
5 drinks.
That's it?
20 years is a long time. You go
I
from
know,
being
but
the
they're
worst team
terrible.
in baseball last year to one of the best this year. Like, that's very possible. Look at the Royals.
White Sox to win the World Series next year.
Oh, gosh. That's like 20 drinks.
That's it? 20? Oh,
What do you want me to
Ariel has a
die?
gambling problem. That is crazy.
Okay. Die? 20?
I've had people say 1,000 drinks. So
Okay.
there's
All right.
it's all.
I'm being realistic, but okay, 1,000 drinks.
1,000
not
drinks.
next year.
There it is. Okay, Paul Skeens to get traded to the Dodgers or the Yankees within the next 5 years.
5 years, decent. I'll say 10 drinks.
10 drinks, not bad, not bad. Man, wait, do you think it's pretty unlikely?
Probably. I think Pittsburgh's going to be pretty decent, and they're going to keep him.
Wow. All right. Thank you for that tip. I did not place that. Shohei to never place a sports wager again in his life.
Is that of the sports wagers that we know he placed?
Yeah, he has to get caught.
Shohei Ohtani's not getting caught for gambling, so, what?
2 drinks.
2 drinks?
Just a casual beer. I like it.
Casual beer.
Okay. Williams Astudillo to throw a perfect inning in his lifetime.
Sometimes it's hard to hit those off-speed stuff, so I'll have, I'll give it, 8 drinks.
Wow. Not bad. Not bad.
Maybe,
15.
Maybe
And
15.
for the last one, I want to know how many beers it's going to take for you to bet that Frank the Tank will be in the locker room with the Mets celebrating their World Series win.
Ooh. I'll give that 20 drinks. They're pretty strict.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe he'll be celebrating by himself. But for the Mets to win, Frank the Tank's happy. 20 drinks still?
No, I'll give it 40 drinks because I don't know if the Mets will win the World Series.
Well, there you have it. Ariel is against the Mets and Frank the Tank apparently. But Ariel, I know you.
Love
I
him.
know. I hope he gets one. And
I hope
I want to see
for
it.
him, but not really because I need the Yankees to win for me.
But the Yankees are gonna win. They're gonna win another one. Frank needs this one. He needs it bad. It's hurting his heart at this point.
He's so happy right now, so it's all good.
Well, Frank, I'm rooting for Frank. I'm kind of rooting for. I'm just rooting for winners at this point, and you're gonna give them to me. But make sure to go follow Ariel on Pikkit Sports. She's gonna be giving us all the plays this MLB postseason. Ariel, thank you so much for being on with us today and all your insights to how to get into this industry, what you've done in this industry, and also how you feel about the Mets winning and Frank the Tank maybe being happy. You don't want it. But thank you so much, Ariel. I know you have a meeting, so I will let you go now. But we really appreciate you and can't say thank you enough for giving us your time.
Of course. Thanks, Preston.